Sezno. Here's some really old advice I found about being an artist. This is from a letter written in the year 1902 by William Butler Yeats to James Joyce. I found this letter in a biography of Joyce, which I would recommend you read if you're a Joyce head like me. But if you don't know who these people are, they're both Irish writers, most active in the early part of the 20th century. When he wrote this letter, Yeats was 37, 38, and he had seen some success already as a writer, and Joyce was 20. So he was just starting out, and he had not written anything at this point that he is currently remembered for. In this letter, Yeats is basically giving Joyce advice on how to pursue a life as an artist, which to them is specifically as a writer. But the advice that he gives in here I find quite powerful. I think it is applicable to any kind of artist in any era, including us today. So perhaps you'll get something out of it. I won't read the whole thing, but what he says is, let me find that bullshit though. The work which you have actually done is very remarkable for a man of your age. However, men have started with as good promise as yours and have failed, and men have started with less and have succeeded. The qualities that make a man succeed do not show in his verse often for quite a long time. They are much less qualities of talent than qualities of character. Faith, patience, adaptability, without this one learns nothing, and a gift for growing by experience, and this is perhaps rarest of all. So currently I am closer to Joyce's age than Yeats's age when this letter was written, but already I feel like I've seen lessons from this letter play out in my life as an artist and also in that of others around me. It's especially interesting that Yeats writes off talent to focus more on character. Becoming a successful artist is far less about the potential that is hinted at by talent. And far more important is one's strength in the long term to survive the ups and downs of life. Technique doesn't make you an artist, really. Life does. Yeats makes it perfectly clear it doesn't really matter how much good promise you have at 20. Time is the ultimate test of one's willpower and the determining factor of one's success. To be an artist, you absolutely have to have faith and patience. Two things that he mentions. You do have to believe in yourself, full stop. But Yeats gives more emphasis on adaptability and growth by experience. The only guarantee that exists in life, artistic or otherwise, is change. When momentous changes inevitably occur in an artist's life, those are some of the key events and periods that ultimately test an artist's character. To what degree can the artist navigate these changes? Some of which will be very difficult and even demoralizing. And not just surviving, but coming out of them even stronger and able to utilize those changes for good. One of the lessons I've learned over and over in my 20s as an artist is that things never play out at the pace that you think they will. How you imagine it when you're really young and naive and just starting out. I saw this with myself for sure. It is very easy to, say, be in high school and live in untested existence and decide that you want to be an artist while at the same time completely underestimate the difficulties of adult life, of how real life will actually impact your productivity, your process, your time management, your relationships with other people. Yeats makes it clear in this letter, without adaptability, one learns nothing. It is impossible, really, to make long-term progress without training a muscle for adaptability, being able to recognize when something isn't working or that a factor in your life is a roadblock, and to be able to make the necessary decisions, some of which will be tough, in order to adapt to them. I think in this letter, Yeats gets at the core of the strange combination of ego and humility that is like peculiar to being an artist. None of one's ambitions are achievable without self-confidence, but you also have to be rational and humble towards life in general. Life will humble you and make you pay your dues. It does not care how great you think you are. There's one final bit at the end of this letter that I find some comfort in. The chief use I can be will be by introducing you to some other writers who are starting like yourself. One always learns one's business from one's fellow workers, especially from those who are near enough one's own age to understand one's difficulties. Yours sincerely, W.B. Yeats. Like, this is just timeless advice. I bet any artist currently in their 20s feels disillusioned by this world that we're trying to make it in. And in many ways, it is a different world from what it was for people who were our age 20 years ago. I find that little bit very comforting, that this has always been the case, and that these difficulties of navigation and being confused in a world that has rapidly changing rules is something felt keenly by every generation of artists. But there's always a factor of camaraderie, that we of the same generation are in the same boat and we're in this together. It's gonna be hard, but that's how it goes. Joyce, I believe, took some of that advice, despite how egotistical he was, and he went on to make some great art that people remember and admire. But it took him a long, difficult time to get there. And those difficulties didn't stop even once he achieved his success. But my point with this video, I think, is that this is the case for everyone. Literally everybody notable in history was at that point once. And I think there are certain universal lessons about being an artist that can help any of us today achieve our goals. If you made it this far, thank you for watching. Follow me on Instagram, check out my merch store, check out my EP. Much love to you all. Peace.